Homecast.
Hi everyone, it's Emily here. Today I invited one of my guests, Wu Zai, to my Homecast. Welcome, Wu Zai.
Hello, I'm Davies. I am studying art with Emily. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for actually come and share objects with me. So, what objects you been bringing with you?
So this object is it's something that I made when I was little out of different pieces. So it's got some wheels from a remote controlled car, which were then put into a Nestle milkshake box, which then has the smallest milk carton that you can have tied to the top, which was originally tied with elastic bands, but they broke, and now it's got baler twine tying it together. So it's also has some marker pen on it to draw a little face and things, and it has some string. So when I was little, I used to sort of walk around with it and pull it around. The milk carton was there so that it could float, so it was sort of an amphibious vehicle. And it's sort of, because I like sort of invention and very sort of creative inventing sort of things, was something that I always enjoyed when I was little and growing up. This object sort of reminds me of the child's sort of curiosity of that, inventing things and coming up with different ideas. And it's also, I used to just walk around because I come from a rural place, rural mid Wales, and I was brought up on a small holding, so I used to just walk around the fields with this and take it up on the mountain and things.
Thank you. That sounds really interesting. Can you talk about more with like the relationship with your friends? I mean, the toys that you've been playing. Do you name the toys, or do you just hug it like when you sleep, or do you like introduce and share with your friends sometimes?
Well, I lived quite a isolated childhood, so I don't think I would have shared it with any of my friends. It was more, I just would, when I was going out, I'd sort of take it out with me, and I remember pulling it around and having it as basically a friend. Didn't give it a name, I don't think. But I guess I would have played with it with an imaginary friend, which was something that I did name, which was Bluey, an imaginary friend, which was sort of, I guess it would have been the size of an ostrich egg, this imaginary friend. It was blue. It had sort of coming out from this, so it was egg shaped, and it had like small stumpy arms and legs which were furry, blue and furry. The sort of shell of this creature could sort of extend in segments and then turn around, and then when it went back it would become invisible. And so that was my imaginary friend as a child, and I would have probably walked around with this toy and that imaginary friend.
Oh, I see. I mean, thank you for sharing that. And you seem to have like lots of imaginations once you were little. I mean, to be honest, when I was little, I have so many imagination with the toys. I used to talk to the toys, I take shower with the toys, and I broke it, and after that it's moldy. which is very sad because I didn't realize toys can't take shower and you need to leave it dry. It's very sad. At the end, it's actually explode in some way because it looked like a mockery. It's like, the I don't know, the hair is actually really moldy and smell really badly. But anyway, she is my good friend. We do everything together. Very sadly, my mom chucked it because it was really badly like moldy and smell. But yeah, I will still miss her as in a friend forever. And I can sort of relate it to you that like how you imagining as a friend with you. And can you say a bit more about how your friends been going through with you from like sort of like a childhood, or is there like everything like they've been overcome with you some of the challenge that you sort of doesn't want to do it when you were a kid, but because your friends, their imagination that been helping you sort of go through with it, or is there any like really fun experience that is slightly interesting to share about?
Well, I guess they were there a lot because of they're being quite isolated. Um, and so that's what they would have helped with a lot. I don't really remember that much about them. It's been a long time since thought about that sort of thing, to be honest. I know that my toy was sort of designed so it was quite rugged, because of our landscape. And I remember it was just because I spent a lot of my childhood sort of alone or with my dogs. And yeah, so growing up in rural mid Wales, in my school there was only one other person in my year group. Um, and after that school closed down because it was too small, I was then forced to go to a school that was an hour bus journey away, which meant that it was quite difficult to hang out with other people, being so far away. But I guess the imaginations were just there to help with the loneliness of. Well, I don't really think I felt that lonely. I was brought up that way, and I have two siblings, and we did play a bit over times, but I remember feeling like a bit shut off at one point because there was a summer, and like all previous summers, we made a list of things that each person wanted to do with our siblings, but then they grew old and grew out of it because they're older siblings, and I still felt like one summer that I didn't really have anything to do, because my siblings didn't want to play. I didn't want to play the things I wanted to do. But
I mean, thank you for sharing it. I bet like for the new environment, it's actually quite challenging for you, as in for me as well. When I first came to, you know, study in UK, like, overseas as an overseas student, it's like challenging as well. It's a new environment, new places, new people. It might be a bit different culture a little bit because we brought from up like from a different family as well. So I guess there is something that it might be challenging and difficult. Do you feel in that way? I mean, I feel it like in that when I was little during the time.
yeah, well, when I left home, I first went to live in a town called Amesbury. Um, and yeah, there were quite a few things that I struggled with, but that was also to do with leaving home. Um, yeah, I didn't particularly like the atmosphere, and I guess I didn't feel very connected to the environment because it was a town. Um, yeah, it was a big change when I left, and I struggled. I struggled making friends, and I struggled internally. Um, and so I didn't eat properly to the point at which I developed anorexia and anorexia-based Tourette's, um, because of an eating disorder. And yeah, I guess moving away from home, but also moving away from the countryside, um, made me feel sort of, I don't know, like you can't just walk around as easily, or you can't just go somewhere, because then all you're surrounded by is urban environments and sort of buildings and things, and they're all very much sort of the same block things. And I don't find it too difficult to not get lost in places, but I definitely find it easier to find my way around if I was lost in a forest than I'd be if I was lost in a city, because I recognise trees and things more than I can recognise buildings. But yeah, and then after that, after I left Amesbury, I left because of depression. Because I was sort of sacked because of depression. But they tried to sack me, but they couldn't legally sack me. So they stopped me from working, and then I just went home, which was it was the only place that I could be, because I wasn't able to work, because if I did work, then that would give them a good reason to sack me. So they just stopped me from working. Which was quite a complicated state of affairs, and I didn't feel like I could do anything with my time, and so I became very isolated during that time, because I'd lost all of my school friends because they all went to university. And yeah, it took me a while to get back on my feet, and didn't really know what I was doing, and I sort of found myself, not really through my own decision, into doing art, and ended up coming to Falmouth University, which again wasn't something that I sort of felt like I consciously chose. If COVID hadn't happened, I'm not sure if I would have come to Falmouth. I felt like because we were in a massive pandemic, that there was very little else I could have done with my time, and so education seemed like a thing that you can still do during a pandemic, whereas a lot of people were losing their jobs and a lot of industry and everything just shut down. So, and I didn't think it wouldn't be very good for me to not do things. One of the things that I realise is the coping strategy for my depression is to keep myself busy.
I mean, thank you. There's a lot of things and deeply information in it. I mean, thank you for sharing. I mean, now you have friends. I mean, if you didn't come to Falmouth University, I will not meet you, and I will not call you Wu Souzai for sure. So basically, Wu Souzai is a nickname I call him for a little bit of times, I think. I don't know when was it, but I just suddenly said that, yeah, I want to call you Wu Souzai.
Your friends from home struggle with when you say my name,
Oh, yeah.
isn't it? And so you came up with that name as a thing that they realise who you're talking about when you say Wusotai instead of Yean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got a bit trouble when I first met Yeans, actually. I pronounced his name really badly, like completely wrong. I think I spent like half year to actually pronounce your name right. I'm proud of myself in some way that I actually pronounce it right, but yeah, I find it like Rusozai, this name is really like homely, like really safe and really close. So I just named you as Rusozai. The meaning of Rusozai, I told you before, Wuso as mean like years. Zai mean boy, but instead of if you combine it together, it's like a nickname for like a person that you're really close to. So yeah, you're really close to me and important for sure. And yeah, I mean, it's really interesting like when you say that you find it like easier to find a place that like it's like lots of trees and you can figure out like easier to find the place that you get lost. But for me, because I live in a city for since when I was a little, well, I mean, I still get lost even I'm a city girl. But just yeah, it's really like uh surprised like when you say that like you find it like more comfortable in like countrysides and also with nature. I feel like probably nature have like a really strong bonding with you that probably heals or even like make you feel comfortable with it because there's a high percentage that like back from city like people enjoy in nature than actually in like a massive building or whatever like you call in the past like a what's that called like sky
Skyscrapers.
yeah he used to say skyscraper and it just happens. But yeah, I think there's so many things from different like from nature and city or just different environment. And also when you say that like during through pandemic like COVID time has been like a huge big difference like for so many people and really challenging as well. I you say that like for you what you realize is like make yourself busy it's actually help for depressions. Can you say a little bit more like about it?
Um. So yeah, I mean, if I feel like I'm not doing anything, then I just go in a downward spiral. Um. I guess it's keeping your mind busy and it's not letting you think too much because you're preoccupying yourself. Um. So yeah, it's I don't know. I guess I've had depression as long as I can remember to some extent, or on and off, definitely throughout my entire childhood, and yeah. Um, so I decided, well, at some point I realised that I needed to keep myself busy. Um, because yeah, I did. It took me until I was 19 before I actually um went to any doctors or any medical advice. Um, and I'm not sure. I don't really feel like that particular advice that I was getting at that point in time in my life actually helped. Um, because me telling people seemed to make my work try and get rid of me, and um, the people who I was surrounded by at that time didn't really care at all. So they were just it was just a very very bad time for me to sort of talk about my mental health issues, um, which I'm open about, but I still struggle sometimes to get help because it's such a difficult system, and still with medical, um, they often just try to medicate for this sort of thing, which is it's well, I guess how I see it is trying to um help look at like how a tree is dying. You'd look at the leaves, but then the sort of source is the root, and it's not actually getting to the source of the problems. It's just sort of helping with the surface level sort of symptoms to get rid of them rather than treating the actual problems. And I think depression, for me at least, is not like something that's wrong with me. It is part of this societal issues. I guess mine is probably based around my um, anxiety about our environmental issues at this current time, and so yeah, I don't think it's not really a problem with me, but it's a problem with how the system is currently sort of operating, and yeah, it's why I've been trying to sort of join different protest groups about this sort of thing, because it's just ridiculous what our government is sort of avoiding, and how they keep just accepting money from these oil companies to continue, with our Prime Minister not wanting to go to COP 27 recently, but then changing their minds. But even if he does go, I'm not sure he's actually going to do anything other than shake people's hands, which is what they've been doing for, well, 27 years now. Which, yeah, it's an issue that's been not addressed, that should have been addressed even before my lifetime, or if they should have started, but they just haven't done anything, and it's deeply unsettling.
Thank you so much, Yan. Wow, it's I don't know. It's like very true, and also I'm using the time to absorbing the message from what you just been saying. I think like through depressions as well, like everyone have different like sort of their own like depressions or something happened to them before based on like childhood or something that they've been go through. It's make them like been really like depressed, or something that they might got like anxiety that they have as well, because I have it as well, and it's difficult. It's not like easy that you can get out of it. And also again, sometimes you talk to someone, it might be help, but it's not as in like 100%, because down to like the earth at the end, you sort of still need to figure about yourself, because in some way if you didn't realize it, you can't really, well, I don't know, I don't want to say the word fix, because it's not a problem. It's not like depression is not a problem. Also, I don't think like it's some way it's not a bad thing. It's like a type of things that to let you realize who you are, what you feel uncomfortable of as well. Um, yeah. I mean, thank you for telling me like a lot of so deep inside stuff. I mean, it's meant a lot for me. Thank you. Would you like to have another questions? Because like I prepared a few questions, but are you ready for it? Yeah, yeah.
No.
Well,
what's the next question?
yeah, I most like scare people a little bit. Well, I mean, it's a home cast, but I just try to make it like a bit goofy and make people feel like they're like relaxed and laugh a little bit. It's always fun to laugh, just to enjoy, you know. So yeah, let me have a look. What is the most important things you learn in your life? What's your life like before learning it? So, would you able to answer a little bit? I mean, if you doesn't feel like comfortable, that's fine. We can jump on another question.
Yeah. Okay. That question. What was the question?
So, what is the most important things you have learned in your life?
What is the most important thing I've learned in my life?
Meeting Emily.
Meeting Emily. Yeah, that's the most important thing. That's I don't have a good answer to this question. And if I did, it's definitely not. Yeah. I guess one of the things that sort of I don't take anything particularly seriously. I'm not sure if it's something that I've learnt, but I guess I realise that everyone lives in their own little worlds. We all do, and our own worlds are sort of very individualised. The fact that you you see the world through your own eyes, being able to sort of interpret. Everyone interprets things in their own way, based on like their past histories and all of those experiences or genes or whatever you believe in. But the fact is, like, there's no point in taking it all too seriously, if all sort of certain things too seriously, because whatever happens in different sort of relationships between any sort of friendship or any form of relationship, it's just, if people get upset by what you've done, then it's something that you can obviously, it depends on if you've done something particularly bad, but I mean, certain people can't really interact in certain ways with other people because of how we're all seeing the world through different lenses. None of us are seeing the world properly. We all just see it through two eyes, which pick up certain things and then make up the rest through our brain or every other senses. And the fact that it's so individualized, I don't really have an answer to this question, do I? I'm just rambling around the question.
No, you did. I mean,
I'm not sure I learned any of that. When did I learn it? Don't know when I learned anything. Maybe I just exist in this moment and this moment alone, and we should always just be present. There's nothing in the past, there's nothing in the future. Remember that. It's very important.
no, I mean, just been.
What's my life been since I've learned that? Oh, well, I don't really care about people's opinions of me, I guess. People all have their opinions of me. I hear that, people say stuff about me behind my back sometimes, and it's a bit irritating, but apart from that, I guess I feel like people talk about me more than what I expect, but it's possibly because I just, I don't know. I do feel like that, but I'm not sure if that's true. Because I don't know how many people I actually talk to, because I find social interaction quite difficult, especially going up to people and having a chat. I do find that quite difficult, so I do sort of, I don't know, I feel like I probably seem antisocial, but it's more that I don't really do talking to people very easily. I don't, go down the small talk route, which is quite mundane, and I completely disagreed with that. When I was a child, how are you? I remember just refusing to answer that question for a long time because of just never really giving the right answer anyway. It was just, do people even want to know the right answer? Some people do. But when you ask somebody, how are you? Quite often it's just because you don't really know what to say. So yeah, that was a nice ramble. That's what my life has been like since, knowing what stuff happens. Just imagine that you're just present. Let's just say that you're present, and I'm sort of just going to carry on rambling for the next hour or something, because I did say I'd talk too long, didn't I?
I didn't say that. Oh no. Oh no. No, I mean, it's actually interesting the way that you say. Being real is not a wrong thing. Also, like, you don't need to be perfect or whatever, like, answer, like, whatever you just say what you think from that question or what you've been thinking. That's what I want from. And it's quite interesting the way that you say, just being the real of you. And I think, again, everyone have different perspective of thinking from genre, from the world, from everything. Sometimes it can be quite toxic as well. It's not like easy. And also, it's really interesting that you said like you don't care that much, because I'm the opposite side of you. I'm like overthinking a lot and like panicking a lot and worrying a lot, and you're always like, Emily, stop worrying. You over worrying stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. This is actually helpful, you know? And when you say that like you don't talk to people, that's not true. I defend that because you talk to me. I'm a human too, but well, I mean, anyway, it just I'm so glad to meet you from time to time, and we know each other more. So like, I think and why I actually make him a special name as well, because I normally don't make people special name for sure. So you've been like my special place in some way, yeah. And thank you. So, well, there's another questions
There is another question.
I would like to ask you. What make you feel inspired or like you the best of yourself?
Well, let's see how I can ramble around this one then. Inspired. I'm not sure. Do I feel inspired? What's inspiring? Life. Is life inspiring? Oh, I love nature. Nature is lovely. Trees. Yeah, that's lovely. Why don't we just talk about trees? Like oak trees. Oak trees are very nice trees. So very inspiring. You look at them and then they grow quite slowly. It's quite hard wood.
Tell me about more of the oak trees though.
More about the oak trees.
Yeah.
Oh,
What inspired you from the oak tree?
why the oak trees?
What the history of the oak trees? Maybe like you can tell me the story of the oak trees as
The
well.
story of an oak tree. Yeah, well, recently one of our oak trees fell down. It was over 100 years old. Sad. It fell down in a storm last year. Yeah, but it's a thing of the times. Or my best self. Phew. I guess it would still go back to me keeping myself busy, really. I don't know what is inspiring. I guess.
You can inspire yourself from
Yeah.
experience in life. It's not like you need to be inspired from other people or from the objects or something. It can be you yourself.
I inspire myself, do I?
Yeah.
I'm so inspiring. I just sort of leak inspireness. Like a dark oil that just sort of leaks from my eyes. I guess I don't really understand the term. I do find certain things a bit difficult. I've been told recently that it was because I'm autistic, but I'm not sure if that is a good explanation to that. You come up with reasons for individual things. But yeah, I guess it's one of those things about not caring, and it's to do with the empathy. And you say you've got to sort of have enough empathy for these things to feel like it's going to make a difference, to feel like it's inspiring. You've got to have enough of that feeling. And feelings are not something that I'm very good at. Sort of why I struggle with certain conversations, because I just don't feel like I feel a lot generally. That I don't feel like I have much passion in some ways, or that all of my drive is just a continuation to try and stop myself from thinking about how bad or pointless I think everything is. What a lovely topic. You see how I've rambled around the word inspire because I don't particularly understand how to answer this question. Oh, I feel inspired by little monkeys that people have hanging on their door handles. It's a lovely room you have here. That's such an inspiring monkey. Look at its mouth. It's got quite a nice, wide mouth. I think it could swallow a banana in whole. But the banana has to go in sideways because of the sort of the dimensions of that particular monkey's mouth.
Well, I mean, you need to
Other things that are inspiring in this room is these plants. I mean, they're not particularly native to the UK, so I don't really recognise them. I would if they were more native to the UK.
They have names, by the way.
Oh yes, the cheese plant is called. Well, cheese
Yam.
cheese plant with holes in it is called.
Yanai.
And cheese plant without holes in its leaves are called.
Yamato.
By the way, she hasn't just been cutting holes into the leaves. They are meant to be like that. She's not secretly a masochist trying to harm these plants. Um, and there's other things in this room, like what's the date now? Oh yes, we just had fireworks night, and yet there's still two massive Easter eggs in her room uneaten, and an Easter bunny. So yeah, that's a bit more information from this inspiring room. There's a few dried flowers. They look quite nice. Are they native? Yeah, they're native. And there's quite a lot of art on the walls, which reminds me that my walls are pretty bland and they don't have anything on them because I don't know.
You've got some. You've got some photos in your room, though.
I've got some photos on the back of my door in my room. That is correct. But generally, as I am not, I guess, the most normal of creatives in some senses, because I'm more of a engineer sort of style person. Yeah, people in the creative sort of subjects would obviously have things that inspire them, whereas my sort of practice and the way I work is not really based on that sort of thing. And my practice is sort of based on more sort of mathematical, logical engineering basis, which is not something that is as arty, I guess, or is creative in that way, in the normal creative way of sort of the stylized or the colourful things that a lot of artists find inspiring. Yeah, I could carry on rambling around this term. I think she wants me to end, but I've stolen the microphone, you see.
Go for it.
Fully inspired.
Yeah, fully inspired my room.
How long do we have left on this? Am I meant to be saying that sort of thing?
No, it's fine.
No, it's fine.
Dude.
Oh, we've been here for 37 minutes. You've been listening to me ramble. I hope you're enjoying it. Anyway, remember to be present. That's what I'm going to leave you on. But I think there's going to be something else where I'm going to be able to ramble. But I'm going to hand the microphone back now.
Thank you. Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much for. That is not called rambling. You've been express your feeling from what you've been seeing. That is a type of art, by the way. Secondly, was just saying that I'm so glad my room been inspired from some of the stuff that you've just been saying, which is amazing. I never thought like my room been that inspired with actually like the monkey that my dad gave it to me since was a little. Some photos, some of my baby's cheese plant. They're like my family. They're my kids. One is my daughter. One is gorgeous as well. Anyway, back to the topics. Really, it's been amazing that you've been seeing like so many overviews from different perspectives of the world, from the environment, from the generations, from the childhood, and different experience really. And also, yeah, you keep mention about being present. Can you tell me more about why, or can you just sort of recap a little bit like why you keep mentioning it? Is that like something that is hit you up that like, oh yeah, guys, just keep remembering, because I was like want to sum up as like something what you want to learn the most, or something that if you wish you know beforehand on something. But I think being present is sort of a thing that you might or you would like to say about a bit more. Would you like to say it, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think this present stuff was probably me trying to cater for the crowd. You see, I realise the sort of people who are going to be listening to this are probably the sort of people who would want to hear be present, because it's very in at the moment. And so at some point during my ramble, I decided to say be present, and I thought I'd stick to that, because I thought there's definitely people who are going to listen to this who are going to resonate with the be present notion. So I mean, if we talk at it from a particular perspective, I would probably talk about it from a Buddhist point of view. Um, but so I used to meditate, um, and unfortunately, I have lost my good capacity to meditate, and I should probably pick it up again. But it's very hard to pick something up again once you've lost it in a certain way. Like dream diaries, once you've done it the first time, then you can keep it. But once you've broken that habit, to remake the habit is harder than it was to originally make the habit, which is what I'm currently struggling with meditation. Um, so what I was saying about being present was generally because I thought at least some of you, but possibly even most of you, might have thought, oh yeah, I understand what he means, precisely. And so that's precisely why I said it. I said it for you. I hope you feel like happy that I said that for you. I'm not sure I said it for me. I thought that was a good thing. I hope you know the presentness of our current society is presently not particularly good. And so perhaps when I say be present, I mean inside yourself. And when I say that, I'm sort of still catering for the crowd. Do you like the way I can ramble around this topic? Oh, we could carry on. So, present is not being in the past or future, and this is sort of how the fine artists talk. And you sort of say, you can see this sort of imaginary world, but you don't want to be there, but you do want to be in this utopian vision of a utopia that may or may not be able to be true, may not be feasible, and it's probably not going to come true because the likelihood is people in power want to keep the power. And so when you're present, you're trying to sort of forget all of this shit that's going on around you. Sorry for the swear word. I shouldn't swear, should I? Fucking hell. You should always just try and be within yourself. So, I mean, I guess you'd listen to your breathing, your heartbeat. If you can hear your heartbeat while you're sitting down, that's quite an achievement. I can do that sometimes. It's a bit strange. I think I've got like something wrong, maybe. Maybe my ears just hear my heartbeat when I'm just listening to things. It just makes things louder, doesn't it? It is incredibly loud in these towns and cities. Just go to the countryside. Imagine it. It is so beautiful out there. When was the last time you actually saw the stars in a town? There's so few stars in towns, aren't there? You look up and you see a star, maybe 3, maybe 4, but not like a proper starry sky, is it? It's just like, oh, there's a few up there. Can't really see them, and then there's a lampshade, and you think, well, that's a bit irritating. And it's always light, isn't it? And it gives this sort of the night sky this sort of strange haze that isn't natural. It's all unnatural. We live in a natural world, but we are natural because we are part of the environment. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is don't particularly listen to what everyone has to say, but you can select certain bits, but you don't want to always just be so selective not to be able to, maintain your bubble of presentness and be able to expand your bubble of presentness so you can allow things to change you, so you are able to see different opinions and perspectives without them controlling you. Wow, what a lovely ramble that was. I think I'll say, just remember to be present with that particular ramble. So we look at different things, and I've got the carbon cycle up there. I do love the carbon cycle, but we're struggling to maintain the carbon cycle. You see, the thing about trees is, once upon a time there were lots of trees, but then the thing is, before trees happened, they didn't have trees, and then there was this time in which a tree happened. And that's how coal happened, because there was a tree that happened, and then for a long time, because trees are made out of quite hardy stuff, nothing could break it down, and so it sort of, because the sort of cells to make a tree had just evolved, then nothing could actually break down these cells for a long time, and so they actually became coal. And then when the coal layer stopped is when things started to learn how to break down trees. So although we do need more trees, the fact is we can't just expect the trees to take out all of the coal that we've already burnt or all the fossil fuels that we burnt, because things will break down the wood after they have died, which is sad, but it's what will happen. So the way we've got to do it is something completely different. I like carbonization, but that is not necessarily the answer to our problems. Although there are quite a lot of answers that could help, like putting if you like get some minerals, they're great minerals, aren't they? The sea is a great thing. So actually, one of the ways we can help with climate change is if we sort of scatter uh, iron dust in the sea. And how this will work is this will give nutrients to the plankton, which then helps sort of reinitiate the sort of the cycles that have been the sort of plant the biospheres in the oceans that have been slowly killed off. If we give them more nutrients, then because there's so many plants that are able to grow in the sea, they would be able to suck a lot of carbon out of significantly more than what planting more trees will do. So we need also to try and help the sort of plant life that lives in the ocean, because the ocean, it's a bloody big place. Yeah, that rambled off. I don't know where that came from. I just thought I'd carry on rambling. But I do like rambling. It's like when you're walking but you don't know where you're going. So you can go for a nice long ramble. And now I've overrun this podcast.
No, it's fine.
No, it's fine. It definitely isn't fine. I'm going to hand it over now. Goodbye. You might never see me again.
Well, oh my god, you just like look like I'm murdering you or something. It's not like that.
Have you seen any of the other people who are on the podcasts?
Well, I mean, anyone, you can probably like imagine like who I am really, and how fun I invited different guests. You know, for example, Yan have different characters, have different like perspective of thinking, which is interesting. And also like it's sort of tell me more about how the environments work, which is insanely because like to be honest, when I was little, in Hong Kong education doesn't really like educate that much as in like, oh, you need to learn how to be present or whatever, you need to care about
Oh, the UK
the world.
The UK doesn't teach you either.
Well, I mean, Jan's teach me now. That's what I mean. So, see, the fact is, I invited like most of the interesting people and lovely people been share their story and perspective. And again, just a short recap about being present. Being you. You don't need to listen to all the people what they're saying about you.
It would be wise to listen to me though.
Well, here we go. So, and also, just being present and learn. I think keep learning and consider some stuff that is just apart from you. I think it's quite important. And I don't know. I just keep like my brain keep just bring up like nature and stuff because I love nature as well. And nature is beautiful. It's apart from us. We're apart from nature and everything that like we need to be considered about in life and everything. And I wish everyone can learn something from Yan from this conversation. Yeah, here we go. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you for coming, Yan. It was so lovely.
It was lovely to ramble.
Alright, thank you. See you guys.